New audio is circulating on social media saying that Charlie Kirk didn't get an autopsy. This is allegedly dispatch audio. I will say this: there's no way to verify at this point this audio if this is really truly dispatch audio. This is strange dispatch audio. If this is dispatch audio, because typically I would assume dispatch audio is because, during an emergency. So I'm not really sure when this conversation took place because this is well after he had been declared dead and his wife was on the way in an aircraft, which, by the way, he was not shot in front of his wife and children. That story came out in the New York Times this last week that Charlie Kirk was killed and his wife was actually in Arizona still. She stayed behind because her mother needed some sort of medical treatment, and she stayed with her mother. And then she got the call that Charlie had been shot, and a jet picked her up and flew her, and she found out he died that he was declared dead when she was in the air on the plane, which is just really sad and terrible to think about. But let's just listen to this audio. This is apparently this is the audio.
I did do the
that
request.
was released.
They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add us up to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
287, I'll declare the hospital.
I need an officer at Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to Signature and they're bringing a car over here for her right now.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at Signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they were landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
Okay. Right. So, again, this audio seems a little strange to me. Like, when were they? So this is clearly she's in the air. He's been declared dead. She's landing because what we do know from the New York Times is that she found out that he had died while she's in the middle of, she's mid-flight. They're talking about her landing at either Signature, which is it's a private and general aviation, like in Provo. It's a Provo airport, or it's at Provo Airport, but it's like for private aviation. So it's like a wing of Provo Airport, apparently. And then there's also Duncan, which is, it's another fixed base operator. And Duncan is, let me see here. It just says both Signature Aviation and Duncan Aviation operate major facilities at Provo Airport in Utah. So they're both. So they were like mixed up. Is she with Signature or is she with Duncan? What's going on here? So clearly, this is before she lands. He's already dead. Why would they be discussing an autopsy? That's the only thing that I find strange about this audio. So I'm not sure if I should believe it or not. Because why would they be discussing? Let's just re-listen to that in the beginning. So now that we know kind of the whole context of the audio and the ending, and they're just talking about where the wife is landing and getting her a car. Why would they be talking about an autopsy so quickly? I mean, usually an autopsy, the person's dead. They've been declared dead. The family then, they certainly wouldn't do an autopsy before the wife got there to say goodbye. Usually they let the family, oftentimes they'll try to keep the person on life support. They'll try to do what they can, if they can keep the person on life support to some level so that the family has a chance to say goodbye. If that's not possible because the person there's just no way to even put them on life support, they still would give the family they don't like wheel the body down to the morgue right away or down to the coroner's office to start the autopsy before the wife can get there to see the body and say goodbye. They just don't really do that. So I could be wrong, but I'm from my experience, I've had quite a few people die in my life, unfortunately. Everybody dies, but usually, they wait for a while to ensure the family has the opportunity to say goodbye and to see the body. It's a very important part of the grieving process. So the whole discussion of autopsy at this point is strange to me. I'm just going to say that. I almost think this audio isn't real, but we'll listen to it again.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. They didn't. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add us up to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
I mean,
287 off to clear the hospital.
I need an officer at Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got off the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to signature and they're bringing a car over here for her right now.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they were landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
I don't know. So it's just confusing to me to try to understand this. Like, she hasn't even landed yet, and they're talking about an autopsy. Okay, so it is strange. If Charlie Kirk did not have obviously the point of this and why this is circulating on social media is because it would be very strange if Charlie didn't have an autopsy for a couple of reasons. First being, typically, Utah law requires an autopsy, first of all. However, if the coroner, there is a possibility the coroner just goes, well, I don't need to do an autopsy because we know how he died. He was shot and he was killed by the gunshot. So we already know this. But when there's an investigation, the perpetrator, it's unclear where the gunshot came from. Specifically, you've got to retrieve the bullet. I would think there would be an autopsy done. So here's the thing with this audio. I'm not sure if I believe if this is real. This is circulating online, so I wanted to talk about it. I'm not sure if it's real. I have my suspicions. I will say that it would be highly, highly suspect if Charlie Kirk did not have an autopsy. We haven't heard of an autopsy. We haven't heard of any release of autopsy, incoming release of autopsy report. What we have heard is that the TPUSA spokesperson said that the coroner, he did mention that. Well, it's a little confusing whether or not he meant the coroner or he meant the surgeon that worked on Charlie and tried to save Charlie. Talking about the bullet and how the bullet, he was a man of steel and the bullet stopped his bones and it was like unheard of. That is unclear if that came from a coroner or if that came from the surgeon. If it came from the coroner, then that means that there was some level of autopsy done. But what was the level of autopsy? Did they recover the bullet? Did they look at the trajectory of where the bullet entered the body? Did they document this? Is this information that is going to be used in court? I would imagine if I were the defense attorney of Tyler Robinson that I'd be demanding an autopsy. I'd be saying, no, we need to know exactly the trajectory of the bullet. We need to know what type of bullet it was. We need to know what, the force probably, there's all kinds of things that you'd want to look at in order to determine whether or not your client is actually the one who took the shot. So, it would be highly suspect for those couple of reasons. If there wasn't an autopsy, Utah requires it, and there's an active according to Kash Patel, still an active investigation. Certainly there's somebody who's being accused of killing him. However, I will say this. Charlie Kirk had some strange behaviors that maybe there wasn't an autopsy done for religious reasons. And why do I say that? Christians allow autopsies, but Charlie had adopted, for example, he observed Jewish Sabbath. So he said that he turned off his phone on Friday nights and turned it back on Saturday nights, and that he observed the Jewish Sabbath. Why he did that, he said at one point in various different interviews that he kind of adopted some of the Judeo-Christian, what would be considered, I guess, Judeo-Christian. So he adopted a lot of the Judeo stuff, and it was because he felt like it was more maybe accurate. I'm not really sure exactly, to be honest with you, why he was doing that. But he did. We know he did. He talked about it. So it's possible, maybe, if there was no autopsy, I suppose. The only reason I could, there's a couple of obviously theories as to why there would be no autopsy. One being because the powers that be that are trying to cover up something said no autopsy, right? That's like the first suspicion. And then the second suspicion would be well, it could be just sheer, not laziness, but oversight. Not oversight. That's not the right word. What word am I looking for? Negligence, like just sheer negligence, or incompetence. Sorry, incompetence would be the right word for that. The other option could be that he religiously didn't believe in autopsies. That would be strange. Christians do. However, Muslims and Jews don't. Muslims and Jews, both Abrahamic religions, just like Christianity, do not believe in autopsies. And it's possible because Charlie was kind of adopting more of these Abrahamic rules than just straight up Christian rules. It is possible that he thought, okay, like not only do I think the Sabbath is Saturday, but I also think no autopsies because it says here in the Bible at this point that whatever. I suppose it's just something I'm bringing up as a possibility because you never know. His body did seem to be released pretty quickly, especially for this type of case. You would think that, yes, we know he died of a gunshot wound, but you have to verify that. Even though it looks obvious that he died of a gunshot wound, you'd still have to verify that he wasn't poisoned or something along those lines, especially when you're dealing with a murder. And you'd also want to do a full investigation on exactly the bullet and the trajectory and all of those things when it comes to a murder case. So it would be highly strange if there was no autopsy. So that's why I'm not sure if I totally believe that this audio is real. If it is real, it is odd that they're talking about autopsy this quickly before the wife even has a chance to go and say goodbye to her husband. Or if they were flying in any other of his family members, his mother, his father, like they all might have needed to. And you would do that, I think, before you would go and take the body into an autopsy. So that is why I'm just going to put this out there. This leaked audio, showing it to you, not sure about it. I'm a bit suspicious on it. However, if it is real, and if it is real that Charlie did not have an autopsy, that is something we will definitely talk about because that would be extremely, extremely suspicious. But this is just more to the story. Wanted to show and share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really interested to hear from you. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.